Dreamlands by Yasumo. This is Aurian Archive, and we're diving back into hybrid theory with the Steam Deck. Now, as you might notice, I am once again back over on the media server. And fair question has been asked, well, how am I actually accessing this? Am I sitting on an uncomfortable chair, or am I accessing this remotely? Well, I'm actually running through a Steam Link that is connected to an aforementioned Samsung television, and I'm actually using a lap desk that I picked up recently to try and keyboard and mouse on Outriders on the Xbox Series X. And this is so far a little bit more comfortable to work with than sitting in front of the tiny little whatever size monitor that is that I had set up. Still running 1080, so everything's looking fine. All right, what I kind of wanted to dive into here is not necessarily the hardware I'm using now, but a couple things that have bubbled to the surface within the past, day or so on the Steam Deck itself. For first, Valve is saying that they're targeting 30 frames per second, not 60 frames per second. The display itself, if we look on and I found this hilarious, speeds and feeds, where is this an A-Bomb 79 reference? Is this a This Old Tony reference? All I can hear is speeds and feeds, and one of those two guys saying it. But if we look through here, it says that our refresh rate is 60 hertz. And because of this refresh rate, I went with, okay, probably a 60 frame per second target. Well, no, Valve's saying it's 30 frames per second. And that does kind of raise some questions that I kind of have uh, well, we already had some questions about what is the actual color gamut of the display that's on the Steam Deck, because the information here just says optically bonded IPS LCD. And the problem is you can look up a number of, let's go with Nixius, give me, let's go with the Nixius Edge EDG 34S, because this is actually what I use for my desktop system. And this is a FreeSync premium certified 144 hertz uh, refresh rate. And it is, I think as we look down through the specs here, um, looking for it, where to buy, main features, Radiant FreeSync, specifications, curvature. Okay, backlit says LED. Color support, it says it does 16.7 million, 100 sRGB. Brightness, 400 CDM2, so 400 nits. Native contrast ratio, viewing angles, refresh rate, 48 to 144 on DisplayPort only with FreeSync. Response time for a millisecond gray to gray. And what I'm actually looking for is, Radeon FreeSync 2 HDR branding requires HDR support, and looks like we got to go back. HDR ready support with HDR content. Now, I know that this, since I've got one, it is HDR 400. Uh, we can go look that up real quickly. HDR 400. Excuse me. Excuse me. VESA certified display HDR. And we look through the logos here, 400, 500, 600. So the Nixius that I use is an HDR 400. Now, if we go back again and look through the specifications that Nixius says it has, the 400 nit, the 16.7 million colors, and I know it does 10-bit color channels. There is the suspicion then that maybe, just maybe, the Steam Deck, looking at these specifications, does do a 10-bit color channel. Probably only HDR 400, if it's doing HDR out of the box. I This is one of those where I suspect that we won't get clarification until we get closer to launch. I think it'll depend entirely on what AMD is able to provide in the way of connection. Not AMD. Well, maybe. The thing is, I don't know who this display is being sourced through. I don't know if it's being sourced uh, from what vendor or how it's going. I feel that I just went somewhere where I'm going to have to do some more explaining first. We don't know what the internal connection type is. I'm assuming it's going to be a DisplayPort internal connection. Assuming. I don't know that for certain. It could be a proprietary connection. I'm not actually sure how AMD's latest APUs connect to LCD panels. I'm uh, so I Okay, as I said, there's questions here about how is this actually being driven internally? What properties are being exposed to the internal display driver? I think I said that the way I want to say it. We don't know, is this doing HDR 400? We don't know, is this using a DisplayPort controller? We don't know if this display is running FreeSync. Now, that could be interesting if Valve is doing 30 hertz FreeSync on this display, because that would if we got a 60 hertz refresh rate, we could do 30 frames per second FreeSync and have room to go one way or the other. That could make for a smooth display experience. We could see some frame doubling techniques used. I'm again not really sure how much is being exposed through the APU. I mean, we know it's RDNA2. We just don't know how far it's been customized. What exactly is different about these RDNA2 compute units compared to, say, the RDNA2 that's found in the shipping, so theoretically shipping 6800 Radeon cards. Uh, and there's nothing on the market right now for us to, I think, directly compare this to other than the Xbox and the PlayStation. And what we're again hearing from developers is this is at its 1200 by 800 resolution. It's the same detail level as the Xbox Series X at 4K. So uh, yeah, there's unanswered questions here because some of the math isn't adding up. Yes, 4K requires a significant amount more memory bandwidth, significant amount more textile performance, significant amount more pixel performance, uh, but 1.6 teraflop to whatever the Xbox Series X is, and something doesn't feel like it's adding up here. But I don't know if it's adding up is what I don't. Again, this is things we don't know. Where we don't know how recent this RDNA2 design is in comparison to the RDNA2 that is used in PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. We really don't. And there's a fair chance. Do I still have that TechArp? Uh, I should have just saved those PDFs. Uh, or just kept them open. Yeah, this time we will actually open it in a new tab and bring it up full deck. Because there's actually a really good example here in AMD's history. And we're going to go back to the uh, HD 2000 series and the HD 3000 series. The RV630 or the R600 versus the RV670 or the RV670. Basically going from the R600 to the RV670. The RV600 series, the original Radeon HD 2000 series, was a flaming train wreck. The cards were underpowered compared to the competition. They weren't really that performance effective, so you were spending more money on you were getting less performance per watt per dollar. But AMD ATI went back and they massaged the chipset a little bit more. And then in the same series, you had the Radeon HD 38, the 38 series, the 37 series. You had those cards come out, and suddenly they were with only a die revision. You can see there's not much that really changed here. I mean, 153 millimeters squared to 192 millimeters squared, 65. Let's keep looking at the comparison 3850 or the 3870 versus the 2900. Yeah, let's look at 2900. Okay, 2900 Pro was 420 millimeters squared. The HD 3D, the 2900 Pro. Yeah, again, some of these just they're not. Some of these comparisons aren't direct. To really get an apples to apples comparison, like the 2900 XT, we're looking at 420 millimeters squared, and the 3870 was only 192 millimeters squared. 666 million versus 700 million. So our dice, basically a die size shrink, and uh, yeah, we went from 80 nanometers to 55 nanometers. You have this massive die shrink here. It's still roughly the same architecture, but between the die size shrink, the change back-end bandwidth from PCI X16 to PCI 2.0 X16. And as we kind of scroll down through the rest of the features, you see they're not really changing that much. 320. What are that? The vertex shaders. And we just look through all of that, and let's come back down. Let's make sure that we're lined up on 29. Yeah, we're looking at the 2900 XT versus the 3870. As we scroll down and we start looking at the performance throughput, and the, comparatively, we actually have another benchmarking unit here. 3870, 775 megahertz, the 2900, 742. So we're dice right, basically the same fundamental architecture. The die is shrunk, the average clock speed goes up, and our average performance also went up. So despite the 2900 XT, depending on its memory configuration, having far more memory bandwidth, the 3870 trashed it and kept up or beat the competition without really massaging much in the way of changing the fundamental architecture. How did it build a triangle? It's just one revision, basically one die shrink, one revision, and we went from kind of terrible to, hey, you really want to buy this product. And that's where we don't know, going back to the Steam Deck, we really don't know how modified this RDNA2 this RDNA2 compute units are. Are they even comparable, compute unit to compute unit, to the compute units used in the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5? We just don't know that. There's one of the things where, yeah, we get some idea of how fast it's going to perform because we get the teraflop performance. But even then, as pointed out in one of the links I showed yesterday, uh, teraflop performance, gigapixel performance, gigatexel performance may not be a very good indicator of how good the card is at putting performance down. Other components matter. The back end matters. A small back end, and you put 32 ROPS on it, and your performance over certain resolutions is just going to go away. You put a big fat back end on it, and you can scale across a wider range of resolutions. You can also start to do funkier things with how the frames are actually presented. Let's say that the Steam Deck has two 32 ROP backends, and that it could actually do an internal crossfire configuration of how it's processing the graphics. So, for RDNA2 compute units work on the first screen, the second work on the second screen, and we're going back and forth between them. Vulkan does allow that kind of configuration. It's designed to be scalable across and and to be able to be scheduled across multiple different size cores by default. It's built into the API. No, I'm not going to go look it up. Even though I really want to. So there are so many unanswered questions here. Looking at the display, not knowing exactly how it's connected, not knowing exactly what the actual performance is, and Valve saying, "Oh, we're looking at 30 frames per second performance." And there may be a caveat here for Valve's future performance on future games. If Valve says we're only looking at 30 frames per second performance, then any game that runs at synced to the 60 hertz refresh rate and looks even smoother, well, that's just bonus. That makes the deck look even better. Sorry. I'm getting used to turning this headset off when I bring up the water bottle. And I'm kind of going down. Again, free sync on a handheld would probably be a really big deal. Not a whole lot of. Let's just look it up real quick. Free sync phone. Do any phones have a free sync display? Uh, free sync on Android. How to enable AMD FreeSync? Um, Not really anything there on enabling on Android phones with FreeSync. So not a whole lot of information or immediately searchable information for FreeSync on mobile devices or FreeSync on Android devices. And no, I can't ever see Apple using FreeSync. And they'll develop their own standard that's not a standard, and let's not go there. We've already tangent enough. Okay, so the Steam Deck. We have lots of questions about the display. Do we have any other immediate questions about the system? Well, no. Uh, we do have observations. And observations I would make is, well, let's do a quick search for external GPU. And quickly find that a couple of vendors make external graphics cards. The best external GPUs for your laptop tested in ranks, best eGPU closures, 7 things you need to know about external GPUs, Amazon.com, external graphics card, Frostbite's what is an eGPU, does my laptop support eGPU? Okay, the point of bringing this up, and going back to the Steam Deck specifications, there's one limitation here where I would have really preferred, and I know that there's people out there who still use wired headphones. Well, I'm going to be kind of a jerk here. Pick up a USB-C DAC. I'm personally, I've talked about this before. I'm using a Zorlu Super Deck. Um, and we see that DuckDuckGo has a suggestion for the Zorlu Portable Hi-Fi USB DAC. Now, I'm using one of these that was from sold through Drop.com. And Drop actually, I think, had their own special version, one they manufactured. And I have to log in. Alright, there are other. Excuse me for a second. I'm actually going to just turn that off for a second and log in. Drop.com, log in. Alright, gotta turn that off. Now let's try it. Alright, now we. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's turn screen back on. And we'll do search for USB DAC. And we've got a number of different ones that are kind of being sold. I haven't ever used the X Duo. Well, that one sold through. Seems like a number of viewers didn't like it. Uh, DAC amp. Let's see our drop X Duo Pro Bluetooth DAC amp. I'm kind of looking for things that are in line, so we're just gonna do drop. We'll go do audio file. We'll do audio file shop, and we'll filter amps and apply filters and see what we got. Recent products filter. Okay, we had DD Hi-Fi USB-C balanced DAC amp. Going down. Uh, I kind of want the Manly. Just don't ask me why. That thing looks awesome. Other inline. I'm kind of looking for inlines. Here's another inline high DAC highly DAC Audirect Beam S2 portable DAC amp. And keep on going down. Centrance DAC Port HD. Zorlu Super DAC S. I like mine. A lot of people complain about the USB cables it came with. Just get your own USB cable. So much simpler. Anyways, kind of the point here is, no, there's one that I'm specifically looking for. USB, because it was just active. DAC, amp, there's TFC. Alright, now, we'll search for mountain. Not the one I looked. Did I invert my keyboard somehow? Okay, what the what? Okay. That was weird. Hmm. Let's do search for USB-C. Okay, drop USB-C to USB-C cable, magnetic lightning. Because I think it was, okay, DDI-Vi, lightning to USB-C, TFC decal. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's sort of like when you really want to find something, you can't find it because it's changed. Okay. It's like I really just don't want to go do the search on Amazon.com because you just never know what's going to happen on Amazon.com when you do that. And also the perils of streaming live when you have a point to make and you're not sure how you're going to make it. Okay, I am not seeing what I want to see, so we're going to turn you off again. Okay. Aha. Okay. I see what's going on. One moment. Alright. This has decided to be a prat for me, hasn't it? Yeah, whenever you want to find something, you can't find it. Yeah, this is also why I like being... I should have had something else set up, a background picture or something. And... what's the worst that can happen? Okay. Oh, okay, that's useful. And there we go. Oh, no, wait. That's not the one I wanted to use. Alright. Let's do that one. No, stop that. I may just have to. Alright, what's going on is I logged into the wrong account. Uh, I logged in the account I set up for someone else so that they could buy something. And apparently, it's now decided to keep logging in with that account. Alright. What I want to do is drop. I want to clear the cache and then reset and see if it'll let me get into. Live people, clear browsing data. Yeah. Okay. Well, there went linking this one to anyone. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is, since I didn't have that set up to go, I'm just going to stop this stream and actually verify that it worked as intended, because I did make a couple of changes to the configuration, and then we'll restart it and have another go. Probably later, since it is getting up to time when I need to get something to eat. So this is Aurian.